Throughout history, governments have buried secrets deep beneath layers of official denials and classified documents. But what happens when those secrets refuse to stay buried? Today, we're digging into 5 of the biggest cover-ups in American history, stories so shocking they sound like fiction, but they are very, very real. Our first stop is the Tuskegee syphilis study. From 1932 to 1972, the U.S. Public Health Service conducted a horrifying experiment on nearly 400 African American men in Alabama who had syphilis. The men were told they were receiving free health care for bad blood. In reality, they were given no effective treatment. Even after penicillin became the standard cure in the 1940s, the goal was to study the brutal, untreated progression of the disease until death. For 40 long years, doctors watched as these men suffered blindness, insanity, and other severe health problems. The study only ended when a whistleblower leaked the story to the press in 1972. It remains one of the most infamous violations of medical ethics in American history, a chilling reminder of how trust can be betrayed by those sworn to protect. Next, let's turn our attention to the skies. On July 4, 1947, something crashed in the desert near Roswell, New Mexico. The initial military press release boldly announced they had recovered a flying disc. The story made headlines worldwide. But just one day later, the narrative completely changed. Officials backtracked, claiming the object was nothing more than a conventional weather balloon. For decades, the public was left to wonder, was it a weather balloon, or was it something not from this world? Years later, in the 1990s, the Air Force released reports admitting the object was part of a top-secret Cold War espionage program called Project Mogul, which used high-latitude balloons to detect Soviet nuclear tests. While they declassified this information, the Roswell incident had already become the cornerstone of modern UFO lore, a perfect storm of secrecy, changing stories, and public fascination that continues to fuel conspiracy theories to this day. Did they tell the whole truth, or is another layer of the secret still waiting to be uncovered? Now we delve into the shadows of the Cold War with Operation Mockingbird. In the 1950s, the CIA began a clandestine campaign to influence public opinion through media manipulation. They secretly recruited prominent American journalists and news organizations to become assets. These journalists, some unknowingly and others as willing partners, would publish CIA-crafted propaganda, plan false stories, and gather intelligence. The operation aimed to shape domestic and foreign public opinion in favor of U.S. interests, often targeting communist sympathies. The full extent of Operation Mockingbird was exposed during the Church Committee hearings in 1975, which investigated abuses by U.S. intelligence agencies. The revelation sent shockwaves through the country, shattering public trust in both the government and the press. It raised terrifying questions about the freedom of information and the invisible hand guiding the news we consume. Let's move forward to the 1980s and the Iran-Contra affair, a political scandal that almost brought down a presidency. The scheme was complex and had 2 main parts. First, senior Reagan administration officials secretly facilitated the sale of weapons to Iran, a country that was then under an arms embargo. The hope was that this would help secure the release of American hostages held in Lebanon. But here's the cover-up. The money from these illegal arms sales was then secretly funneled to fund the Contras, a right-wing rebel group fighting the socialist government in Nicaragua. This directly violated the Boland Amendment, a law passed by Congress that explicitly prohibited funding the Contras. When the story broke in 1986, it exploded into a massive scandal involving congressional hearings, high-profile indictments, and a deep constitutional crisis. It was a classic case of the executive branch operating in the shadows, defying the law and deceiving the American people. Finally, we come to a more recent and digital age cover-up, the NSA's PRISM program. In 2013, contractor Edward Snowden leaked thousands of classified documents, exposing the existence of a massive global surveillance program run by the National Security Agency. PRISM allowed the U.S. government to collect vast amounts of data directly from the servers of major tech companies like Google, Facebook, and Apple. This included emails, search histories, and private chats of millions of people, both in the U.S. and abroad, often without a warrant. Officials had previously denied such widespread domestic spying under oath in front of Congress. Snowden's revelations sparked a fierce international debate about the balance between national security and individual privacy in the digital era. The government defended its actions as necessary to prevent terrorism, but critics argued it was a breathtaking overreach of power and a violation of constitutional rights. The fallout from this leak continues to shape discussions about surveillance and privacy laws around the world, from unethical experiments in UFOs to media manipulation and mass surveillance. These 5 stories reveal a darker side of history. They show how truth can be twisted, hidden, and suppressed by those in power. But they also show that, eventually, secrets have a way of coming to light. What other truths are still waiting to be uncovered? The quest for answers never ends. Thanks for watching, and if you found this journey into the shadows as fascinating as I did, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more deep dives into the stories they didn't want you to know. See you next time.